Welcome everyone to day 2 of Optimize 25. This session, the golden page executive summaries that turn your strengths into a winning story, is being recorded. The recording of this session will be available on the registration page after it ends. Make sure to submit any questions you have to the Q&A box, as Kel is going to be taking questions throughout the presentation. And now I am thrilled to introduce our speaker, Kel Raleigh, Proposal Manager at K2.
Thank you so much, Chloe. I'm excited to be here. The executive summary really is the golden page of the proposal. It is your heart of creativity. It's your first and best chance to make an impression and explain how your company's story directly applies to being the right choice for the job. So here's my executive summary. I'm Kel Raleigh with K2 Consulting. I think I'm an asset to proposal management for a number of reasons, but they can be summed up in 4 succinct points. I have skills backed by education. I've got a bachelor's degree in English where I learned professional writing and critical reading, a writing and publication design master's degree that lends itself to visual presentation, although I see now my PowerPoint is a little off, so don't judge me too harsh. As well as persuasive writing and my foundation certificate through APMP after 5 years of proposal writing and management success. I take a creative approach to life, including proposal management. My creativity is reinforced by personal pursuits, which include creative writing, fiber arts, and visual arts. I bring the mindset of an athlete. I was a competitive swimmer for my whole life, and now I play baseball for the Eastern Women's Baseball Conference. I value fair play, competition, and sportsmanship in all aspects of my life, especially in bids and proposals. And lastly, and this relates back to sportsmanship, I have a firm belief in cultivating a culture of kindness. I have the privilege of being raised by public servants who always took care of those around us, so I take the same approach to proposal management that aligns me directly to my team and anyone that we're working with. Skilled, creative, competitive, and kind are 4 strengths that I've turned here into a winning theme when it comes to selling myself as a proposal manager and a member of any team. This is how my story fits into proposal management. For executive summaries, let's think about how your organization's strengths can turn into a story that you can sell yourself. Beth, I've been slacking on my fiber arts. I have several unfinished blankets behind me, so I need to get on it. Our goals today here are straightforward. We're going to understand the role of executive summaries, master strengths to stories techniques, and learn to craft clear and concise messaging, while also discussing how to apply practical frameworks to make creating executive summaries more efficient every time. So this is where I have a Microsoft form that is not showing up. So if everyone could use your attendee chat or the Q&A, I'd like to just take a second to ask why do you think, or do you not think, the executive summary is one of the most important pages for the proposal? Anyone is there, and that's okay. So the 3 main reasons why I kind of build the foundation as the executive summary and always go back to it as such a critical point is that it sets the tone for evaluators. Yes, it's the first thing and possibly the only thing an evaluator might read. The cliff notes of your proposal is a great way to say it. Decision makers have a limited attention span. They sure do. And it sets the tone for the rest of your proposal. Yes, absolutely. Those are all pieces that I have noted. Sets the tone. Evaluators might split sections up, but in many cases, all of your evaluators will get your executive summary. Sometimes the executive summary will be the only section read to just get an opinion. And the executive summary sets up a strengths-based argument that evaluators can bring directly to decision makers. So that's why we want to make our executive summary something that's easily scoreable, something that traces back to the requirements, and that they can say, we're giving them 4 to 5 ready to go reasons why our company is the right choice. Yeah, great answers here in the chat. Okay, so now what are some common pitfalls that we want to avoid with executive summaries? What do you guys, as either proposal managers or writers or, content SMEs, what do you see a lot in executive summaries that are often a hindrance rather than a help? Salespeople have no idea how to give that pitch or why they should be the ones to write it. Writing it last, making it too long. I've found that certain ones, they can be overloaded with jargon instead of having a clear, persuasive argument. We want to, if we're doing something in cybersecurity, we're not giving, we're using a lot of technical jargon instead of just using plain language. They can also be generic and too feature focused, focusing on the vendor and not connecting the dots to the client versus talking about yourself too much. Yeah, definitely. Thank you all for giving such good answers there. So this is my golden page framework. Now, the executive summary won't always be one nice, neat single page, especially if you're looking to add a strengths table that maps to the requirements in the RFP. But I like to use this as sort of an idea of how to set things up in a way that keeps it clear and also helps other people understand what you're looking to achieve. So the first, sorry, this first quarter is where you're able to deliver that customer focus. You're giving them, the true explanation of how you have identified their hot button issues and perform a little black hatting too. Your capture manager here should be able to play a vital role in developing this executive summary, especially this portion, as they should be able to dive beyond the technical requirements of the RFP and further into why is this coming out, why now, and how can we best respond to it. This is a chance to really show you don't just understand the content and you don't just understand how you can provide a solution, you understand the customer. You can utilize the space as you see fit. The most important elements of the executive summary are your solution. You can use the majority of the page or pages to share the advantage to choosing your story. This is where we take the strengths and turn them into a winning story. Here we'll include key benefits, strengths, features. This might include a strengths-based table, or it might include some call-outs. And lastly is your call to action. Here is where you're wrapping up the summary. You're not just leaving them hanging. You're showing them that there's more to come. So this is where we want to invite evaluators to see the solution in action, both in the proposal and outside of it. So if it is a solution that might include a demonstration, as a lot of cyber pieces or commercial off-the-shelf solutions might, this is where you can invite them to a demo and really kind of further the action, because you don't want your proposal to just fall off with a, here it is, here's our solution, but rather keep the conversation going, have something warm and inviting. This is the format. This kind of 6-step format is what I like to use early on. So we're in the capture phase. We know that the RFP is definitely coming out, and we are going to start developing the proposal and So the proposal should be led into by the executive summary, but you're also going back through to it while you're working on it to making sure that it all matches. So I use this format early on to work with the team and kind of develop win themes that we carry throughout. Separating the thoughts like this make it a great setup to be collaborative and ensure that you get all the information that you need. So let's go back to that first paragraph of the executive summary where we talk about the customer's needs. What are we able to respond to? Which of their problems can we solve and how? That goes into our next part, which is our feature, step 2. So if the customer lacks cybersecurity expertise, our what may be that we have a division wholly dedicated to cybersecurity. The benefits, step 3, are the so what. In the cases of our example that I'll show in just a moment, we're going to really highlight, the exact provable so what. So I'm going to forward real quick. Here is an example of that framework in action. So we have the customer need, a feature, a benefit, and the proof. So next, the proof is in the pudding, but in this case, it's in the proposal. Our past performance and our resumes are going to show the proof, but it's important to mark down early what those past performances are so you can be sure to highlight them later in the proposal. This is where using icons can be really helpful. If you mark a win theme in an executive summary with a people icon, you can draw back on it and remind the evaluators of your win themes later when you begin describing your company's team. Next, we want to make note of what's really unique about your feature. Do you have a bunch of special certifications that are rare in your field? Maybe your team developed a proprietary solution, or you have relationships that can help the customer. And then finally is the win theme, where we all get to stretch our creative brains. This is where we get to be snappy with our language. If the executive summary is a newspaper, these are your headlines. Generally, you'll have 3 to 4, sometimes 5 for your proposal. And once you get to developing these, it's easy to want to add more. I know I was just working on this method recently with my team where we walked through, the step-by-step. And as we started getting into them, it kept wanting to add more. It's like, oh, well, we have this feature that we could add, and let's develop a win theme for that. And while those are great things to add in and that we want to be sure we show in the proposal, you want to keep the language really clean. So you want to only have this shown in the proposal 3 to 4 times. Because too much of this can really start to muddy the water, and you want things that you can draw back on frequently throughout the proposal. Sorry, my slides got a little messed up, but it's okay. I apologize. So I want to think about how we can represent our win themes in an executive summary. We've already opened the we've already opened with a snappy heading. Maybe we're calling it executive summary, the company advantage, or whatever may be required by the RFP, if it is required. And we've described our understanding of hot button issues and technical requirements. It's time for us to now show off what we've got. You can lead into this with a strength statement, and then you can break those out with text boxes, font colors that match your company and your proposal template. You can use headings, icons. This is where we really start to get sharing our story. So in some cases, you may want to use icons. In other cases, you may want to just use text boxes, but it's important to break it up in a way that is visually compelling. So, this is where you want to use like bold text you want to call on, if you're able to use another color. Now, of course, we all have to stay within the RFP. So if we can only use Times New Roman and a certain size, this is where we have to use bold or italic and kind of develop the visual appeal of it while also staying really clean. In this case, I have chosen to use 3 icons that we can use later in the proposal, as well as a nice bold heading that's really clean and clear, and then a brief 1 to 2 sentences about about what our theme is. So with proven customer partnership expertise, we have a long-standing relationship built on trust and results. They can fact check that. And our team includes former customer executives and professionals who have worked with the customer for more than 30 years. These are all checkable things. And so we're making a claim that we will be able to back up, especially when we go and we're doing our resume section, and you'll be able to see, oh yes, this person that we've included does have this experience. And I'm going to use that icon later on to draw that back. So the quick wins to keep the story alive, you want to reinforce your key messages. So we want to mirror the executive summary themes in the technical management and pricing volumes, and we want to use visual structure and consistency. So using the formatting and the headings, icons, and similar language throughout the proposal. In one instance, you might, choose to bring the icon back from here. So let's say you have a section where you are talking about your innovative approach. Here's where you might draw out the strength spotlight, especially if you called it a strength in the executive summary. So make sure you mirror that language. You want to be consistent and precise with it. So if you're using the icon, bring the icon back. Recently, we did a proposal where we started with icons, ended up nixing them for the sake of space. So we just ended up with these strength spotlight boxes, no icons, but they did remind our readers every time of, oh yeah, I read about that strength in the executive summary. Here they are bringing it up again. And if you're doing this, and it's a really good practice, even if you don't end up keeping them, perhaps based on space or whatever you might need, but if you are placing a strength spotlight for each of your strengths throughout the proposal, and you realize that you don't have a place to put maybe your third one, then maybe that shouldn't be the strength that you're talking about. Perhaps you should look for some of those other ones that maybe you drafted up before that is really relevant, or you realize that this is now a gap in your proposal and you have to go back and make some revisions. So I want to just talk about, in a quick group discussion using the attendee chat again, where do we often lose the thread? This is, where do executive summaries often get lost in the proposal? Sometimes in the cost volume based on, what the needs might be in past performance or technical sections. Where do you find that your team often loses the thread of your strengths and the story that you're telling? In the technical approach, that is absolutely something that I find an issue with as well, Noelle. When we get really into the technical section, we often, we lose, we can lose the idea of what our win themes were. But that's one reason why it can be so critical to have a win theme that is that's made for our technical section. So if we have a proprietary solution, or if we have a really good quality management or risk management framework, something that can be called back upon in the technical section. Because if you don't have a strength that fits in the technical section, then the rest of the proposal kind of loses its edge. Yeah, and being too us focused during the executive summary is exactly part of that, because you want your win themes to be on that customer focus, which is why we go back to that kind of 6-step approach where we start with what is the need and how can we meet it. And we focus on features instead of benefits and proof points. Absolutely. Thank you, Michelle. That's a really excellent point. So often I see, we want to talk about all of these features that we have, but we're not just going through and developing really, like, here's our proof, here are the benefits of it. There should be one executive summary that covers all volumes. Absolutely. Yes. So that is why I really like to have the executive summary as part of a cover letter package instead of being part of the technical proposal. Again, it all depends on what we're allowed to do based on the RFP requirements. But it is really nice when you lay out, here are our strengths, here's exactly how we're able to solve your problem, and the proof in which we've done it before, and why we're the best choice. And you're going to see this reflected in cost, in past performance, and in the technical proposal, or whatever the sections might be. And thank you all for your input there. I really appreciate it. And my key takeaways are that the executive summary is more than an introduction. It is a tool of persuasion. This is where you are able to, provide more than you might get to in a technical section. It is where you get to remind the reader, or rather give them a heads up that, in the past performance, they're going to see you're the best choice for this because of these reasons. The executive summary really allows for the because, for the why. You get to align the strengths with what matter most to your customer. You get to, call upon their hot button issues. You get to really call out what it is that's bothering them. And if you have a really excellent capture department, or you're able to do a lot of digging and research, then you're able to really align yourself with that. And then you want to make sure that your key messages resonate throughout the entire proposal. So we're calling back on consistent formatting. We're using consistent language. So if we're bringing up a strength later, we're using the same language that we used. So that way we remind our evaluators what we've done. Here are just a few references that I really like, especially The Art of Explanation by Lee Lefevre. And thank you. I know I was a little short on time. I've got to work out some of the interactivity, but I appreciate all of your time. Are there any additional questions? Oh, I have an inbox of 4. Our executive summary termed cover letter in the SLED RFPs that we go after. Am I assuming that correctly? Yes. So I have found, especially recently, you might not get the chance to have an executive summary as its own page. You might have to be building those into the cover letter. And that's where you're going to have to exercise practice in being really concise and succinct. And so making sure that your win themes are laid out, as well as really clearly, aligning with what documents you've included and the names of them, all of that. But yes, I would say in those, to utilize kind of a strengths-based method, needs, features, benefits, proof for the cover letter as well. If an executive summary is not required, do you recommend including one anyway? If you have the space, it's really nice to give the executive summary. And if you don't, then, we might look at how can we build those strengths into the technical document to kind of call them out, even if it's kind of more of an understanding the scope section. But it is tough when you have a really tight page limit. So that's where using it as a cover letter can be really nice. You appreciate my graphics and icons use. Thank you so much. So for these, I took a kind of shortcut with my timing and used the icons that are available through Microsoft. So when you're doing PowerPoint or Word, and you can insert icon. But I also will do custom icons for certain proposals and certain pieces for work, where I will, I'll draw them and turn them into pieces if we're trying to make it really custom. Especially, we do some work with aviation and security, and you can only have, a little guy wearing a hat with a lock on it so many times. So yeah, I think as far as developing icons, going really simple is key. I like using the ones that Word offers or that PowerPoint offers. They are, you can change the color on them. It's really easy. And but otherwise, if you have the chance, if you have a graphics department or somebody who's inclined, getting some custom icons in your library is really nice too. Here is my reference again, Pamela. And again, thank you all very much for your participation. I am still very much learning how to do virtual presentations. I'm a lot more used to speaking to folks face to face. So, but this is one of those things, like using AI and proposal management, that we have to get used to doing. And I appreciate all of you for joining and appreciate your patience and your participation.
Well, thank you, Kel, for taking the time to speak with us today. As I said in the beginning of this session, the recording and slides will be available after the session ends. Please make sure to fill out the survey on your screen. Leave Kel and I any feedback that you may have. The next session is with Allison Ritz, Director of Product Marketing here at Visible Thread, where she will be talking about proposal preparation, achieving quality with VT Writer. That session will begin in about 30 minutes at 11 o'clock this morning Eastern Time. So thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you on the next session.